allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. We have two mics up here. I guess it doesn't make any difference. Please join me as I pray. Again, Father, we're thankful for the blessings of this day and the many blessings you give us all year long to live in this great country, in this great state and great community. And Father, as we go into this season of the year when images of Harvey and what we experienced 4 years ago are still fresh in our mind, we think about your servant Job in the Old Testament, of how he had everything. He had property and children, and he lost it all. And yet, Lord, he was still faithful to you. And sometimes you ask us to climb a mountain, and sometimes you ask us to face the raging sea. And sometimes, Lord, you ask us to crawl across the desert. And all of that is to bring us to our knees. And when we get in those situations, then we turn to you to be our strength. And that's where we are in this community. Anyone that lives by the sea, we have to turn to you to be our strength. And these commissioners have to prepare us for that. So Lord, we pray you give them the wisdom and the knowledge and the everything, all the tools they need to not only prepare us, but if it does happen, to get us through those storms. And Father, we trust in you to give them the wisdom to do that. And we just pray you be with them today as they go through this agenda, that you lead them through every item, and decisions made will serve all the citizens of this county. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cheney.
Here.
Commissioner Castleman.
Here.
Commissioner Russo.
Here.
Commissioner Laubach.
Here.
Judge Mills.
Here, have a quorum. And we have Mr. Pace wants to talk to us this morning about the aquarium, I believe. Come on up, Chris.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Christopher Mace, and I'm representing the aquarium at Rockport Harbor as the president of that entity. I'm here today to speak in favor of the lease agreement between the Aransas County Navigation District and Aransas County for the land the aquarium will occupy once rebuilt. The aquarium at Rockport Harbor is dedicated to fulfilling our mission statement, which is to provide an educational and entertaining visitor experience that promotes understanding, conservation, and stewardship of our marine resources and environments. In 2016, the aquarium at Rockport Harbor hosted a record-breaking 38,497 visitors as measured through our logbook entries. And on average during that year, 70 to 80% of these visitors were from out of town, traveling a distance greater than 70 miles, and very likely purchased food, lodging, and other goods or services while in Aransas County. In 2017, prior to the hurricane, we documented continued record visitation, and we were on track to set a new annual visitation record. However, as you all know, the aquarium was destroyed in August of that year, and we have been closed ever since. Following the hurricane, the board of directors worked diligently with officials from FEMA to obtain a grant to replace the contents of the aquarium. FEMA awarded a grand total of $225,472.36, of which $202,925 would be reimbursed. However, due to delays in the reconstruction of the building, we have not been able to take advantage of these funds, as we do not have anywhere to store large aquariums, equipment, and supplies. Now, these funds have an expiration time limit of 18 months from award, and the board has continued to work diligently with grant management staff to obtain extensions on this grant. However, due to the inability to produce a timeline for use of these funds, in August of 2020, considerable resistance was encountered in obtaining the most recent extension. In fact, I applied for it in August of last year. They didn't get back to me until March of this year, which is after the next 6-month extension was required. So we're really hanging at the end of our rope here on this one. Periodically, they change grant administrating staff over there, and they went from being very helpful to being very resistant. And so we're concerned that if we are unable to produce some evidence of progress, an additional extension may not be granted, and we may lose these funds. But with the support of Aransas County, we can once again provide a popular attraction to the area. And I want to thank you for the many years of support we've received from y'all. And I do look forward to continuing this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'd like to talk to you offline in a little while, okay? About something. All right, we have no presentation, so we'll go to consent items.
I move to approve the consent item.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second, Commissioner Cheney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call.
No,
I think that one was,
aye.
Commissioner Castleline. Commissioner Russo.
aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Under county reports. A motion,
I move to approve establishing a steering committee and appointed members of one, recommended a project to be pursued and funds utilized under the American Rescue Plan Act funding of $4.5 million and other funding sources. And 2, review and recommend any other projects to pursue in the competitive funding category of this act.
I second that
Should we
motion.
include members of the committee?
motion made and seconded, pardon me?
Should we include members of the committee in this motion?
Yeah, we see that the memo lists members. Is the purpose of the motion to approve that list of members?
Okay.
Well, it's certainly no problem to include them,
Laura, yeah,
I guess.
let's get along to, oh,
Commissioner Cheney, would you like to amend your motion to state that you're asking that the board approve the list of,
Can we do it under this agenda item?
yes,
Okay.
yes, you
So,
may.
yeah,
Which list are you talking about?
there's
It's
only two
It's on
the
page
list.
2 of that memo that Kim sent out.
Okay, all right, I understand. Go ahead.
would you,
So we'll do that by a separate motion and discuss the members in a moment.
I don't know how you do it. How you do it? Jim?
what are,
Way, or you can go ahead and discuss. and
what are the
then-
name of the 2 members?
Can I
We-
interject here? Let's go ahead and go with this motion, and then when we have discussion, since it's on the table, then we can bring in that list, and if somebody wants to amend it that time, we'll go with the amended motion.
That might be less
Pardon me.
confusing. Then we can read all the members, the proposed members into the record then.
But the only thing that is not on the agenda unless you do it in this same motion. I would.
Well, I wondered, because the agenda says that what we're doing is approving the appointment of members.
A vote just yet. I think Carrie and I are on the same page. If you go ahead and want to have your discussion about the committee itself and the members you're considering appointing, and then we'll
Make
take
an
a
amendment.
vote after that, after you've read the names of the committee members into the record and discussed it.
Yeah, because the motion does say appointing members. Yeah. So I think
Well, if that's the case, if nobody minds, I'll just read the members, the proposed members into the record, so we'll know who we're talking about. The suggestions for the membership are that the co-chairs would be Commissioners Rousseau and well, I'm sorry, that was the initial committee. The proposal going forward was that Commissioner Rousseau would be the chair of the commission. That of the committee, sorry. And that the members would be, now some of them are described by
No.
organization and some by person.
This is in the memo that we're discussing.
Right, but I'm talking about the members in the task force.
Those are people that maybe called
So-
in to talk about.
So the idea is not that we would appoint the members to the task force yet? What are we talking about appointing members to?
No, that the members that we talked about were myself, Commissioner Russo, Kim, Jackie, and John Stropson. The rest of the people on that list will be called in, I guess you would say, resource members, because most of them are going to be interested in getting a grant for whoever they represent, most likely anyway.
Okay, so just to clarify, and especially for people at home trying to follow along, today we are only talking about appointing a committee consisting of the commissioners Casterline and Rousseau as co-chairs, and say again, Mr. Strothman
Yeah.
and Kim Fouts
And
as,
Jackie.
and Jackie Cochran, the county auditor, as members. And at some point later, there will be a task force, but we're not voting on the membership of the task force today. Those are just people who may be called in because they have particular expertise.
I'd like to amend my motion to include those names.
Second.
Made a motion, including the names, and seconded. Roll call. Or any discussion.
Do we need to get, would you want, you had the second on it, do you want to go?
Oh, I'll second it then. I couldn't remember if I did or Commissioner
Roll
Castro.
call is Cheney, Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawbach,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. Unanimous. Item number 6, under county roads, do I have a motion?
I move to approve order 008-2021 regarding the petition of Michael Ethington to close, abandon, and vacate the 20-foot alleyway called in block 259, Manning condition, Aransas County, Texas, recorded in volume 1, page 7 of the plat records of Aransas County, Texas, and being more particularly described by meets and bounds on exhibit A and B attached to the petition.
Motion made.
I second it.
Second, Commissioner Russo. Any discussion?
It's a kind of a standard alley closing. Actually believe that the man, they own the whole block.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawbach,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 7, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the conceptual plan proposed by Rockport Islands LP and Blue Stem Equities for the Islands of Rockport Planned Unit Development, Unit 2.
Second.
Motion made and second, Commissioner Casterline. Discussion. Kat? You're online?
Ms. Kat,
Yes, sir.
can you just kind of bring us up to date?
Yes, ma'am. This subdivision began back in 2008. It was, the phase 1 was platted in 2014, and the developer is ready to finish out this subdivision. So it's the Islands of Rockport that everyone's driven by, but we are looking at the concept plan to fill out for for Unit 2 for the next phases of this project. And so they're looking, the concept plan before y'all
Is it the shaded
the
blue?
marina. Yes, ma'am. That
Okay.
is, and in the actual concept plan, you'll see that they have a marina planned, single-family home lots, as well as lots for potential commercial or condo use. In order to make sure that it is environmentally friendly, they're also including a large green space in order to provide for better drainage and water quality.
And Kat, you said you'll feel like you have adequate drainage going through it from the highway and everything? I think
Well, and this is, since this is just the concept plan, we do have preliminary drainage plans. Before the final plat is approved, we will have the final drainage plans approved. And so this is to get the ball rolling for the dirt work, but they have presented the drainage plans, and we are moving forward on finalizing those. And it does, we are recommending approval based on that. They're using City of Rockport water and extending City of Rockport sewage to the subdivision, so there won't be the impediment of having the septic systems on site, and that will also help with the drainage to be able to accommodate the density for the single-family homes that they are looking at.
Okay, and Kath, these are private roads, gated community.
Yes, sir.
Good deal.
Any further discussion?
I move to approve.
That's already been made.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 8.
I move to approve entering into a lease agreement with Aransas County Navigation District at 706 Navigation Circle, Rockport, Texas, for the aquarium and aquarium education center for a term of up to 30 years.
I'll
I second
that
the motion.
Motion made and seconded 3 times.
Now, is the,
We're in favor.
is the Nav district on board with this one now? We've finished working the language out with them?
Yes, they're having a special meeting as we speak.
Okay.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Let's go with it. Just to save time, if we could find space to store that equipment, would that help? So we're gonna look for a space to put that equipment till we get the building built. How about that? Tell us how much space you need. Or tell John and then I'll find the space or try to find the space. Put it out Road and Bridge or something. No. Just kidding.
In their fabulous new quarters? Yeah.
All right, item number 9.
I move to approve the Rockport Center for the Arts parking lot project, which will involve engineering, acquiring property, and constructing a parking lot by utilizing Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery number 20-065-098 C270 grant funds allocated to Aransas County by the General Land Office.
I'll
Second.
second that motion.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Cheney.
I have one question. Once this is constructed, who's going to be in charge of the parking lot?
We will be, the interlocal, which is next, will be giving it to the city of Rockport.
Rockport.
Now, this one's at no cost. This is all grant funds, no matching.
There's no matching.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 10.
I move to approve authorizing county judge to sign an interlocal agreement between Aransas County and the city of Rockport for the Rockport Center of the Arts parking lot projects, which will utilize Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery CDBG DR Grant 20-065-098 C270.
Motion made and second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Laubach.
I have a question,
Yes.
a couple of questions. And John, this may just be the legalese wording, but on the interlocal cooperation agreement, one of the items states the county will have the resources to assist the city with the project should it be awarded the necessary funds. But that really has been accomplished already, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and the other, and like I said, this may be just legalese and my lack of understanding, but on page 3, it says establish a pricing structure for any fees collected for use of the parking lot that minimizes the generation of net operating income. So will that be fee parking or free parking?
It's free parking.
So it's
correct.
free parking.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that language is just in there in case later on it developed into a pay to park situation to make sure that it remains affordable for visitors and citizens.
All right, thank you.
And again, this one, I mean, I think this is true of all community development block grant
Correct.
disaster recovery.
Zero match.
CBDG DR, it's zero match and therefore no budget impact.
Nope, no budget.
I always forget, and I know the people at home do, so I always like to ask.
That's fine.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 11.
I move to approve the emergency radio tower improvements project, which will involve the construction of an emergency services radio tower, support structures, gate, and an access road on City of Rockport property by utilizing Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery number 20-065-098-C270 grant funds allocated to Aransas County by the General Land Office.
Second.
Motion made, second, Commissioner Castleline, any discussion? There's John, you got a question?
Do you want to tell us anything?
No, this is a project that was brought to us by the Aransas County Medical Emergency Services Corporation, where the fire departments to actually bring their radio communications up to the level that they really want it to be. And so we use some of our block grant money to bring this project forward. And it's a no match again. So it's a win for everybody.
No, this is not a new tower. This is new equipment.
No, this is a brand new tower.
Where's it located?
They're gonna be located at the corner of 188 and bypass 35 in the water tower or water tank property. So be off in the right-hand corner of the water tank property.
Okay.
And we'll enclose our property, our piece, have a gate to its own, so it won't be interfering with the operation of the water tanks
Okay.
and pumps.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lava,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 12.
Move to approve authorizing the county judge to sign an interlocal agreement between Aransas County and the city of Rockport for emergency radio tower improvements project, which will utilize Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Grant 20-065-098-C270.
I second that motion.
Motion made and second, Commissioner Russo. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lava,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 13.
I move to approve the May 2021 Treasurer's Report.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Castleline. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lava,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 14.
I move to approve authorizing the county judge to enter into and sign a renewal agreement with the Texas Association of Counties for employee health insurance for the 2021-2022 plan year.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Cheney.
Now, what is the recommendation on this one? Or are we still,
I think we decide that today.
okay, so that we're kind of wide open among the four options still? I know that there was a committee of employees who met. Does the HR director have a recommendation to make among the four?
Well, the committee would prefer that the court take a look at option A, which would be no change to the employees.
And that one costs the county how much?
It's $155,964 estimated.
Additional from,
additional.
Now, is that I think was not, Jackie, was that not in the budget proposal that we saw last week? You haven't not figured that extra cost in yet?
Yes, we have.
You had assumed that already? And you can make it fit and think this works?
That was already.
and what option is that?
That would be option A, where the county absorbs the increase and the employees' rate stay the same.
I'll amend my motion to include option A.
I'll second that.
And what the change that we're making that makes it cost more is to decrease the deductible? Is that right?
No, it would still be the same benefit plan that we have.
It's just that the cost is going up.
The rate,
Correct.
The rates, so the benefits are unchanged, but the insurance company is charging more and the county proposes that the employer will take all that on and then not saddle the employees with the increase in the rate.
Correct.
Got it.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Liebach,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item 15.
I move to approve Sheriff Mills' request for creation of one additional full-time position or up to 3 part-time positions to ensure proper staffing for the security of the courthouse.
Motion made.
I'll second that.
Second, Commissioner Cheney. Any discussion?
During our budget meetings last week, I know that it was mentioned that there is currently a full-time position available that has not been filled in the sheriff's department. And the proposal was that we would use that position for this courthouse security. So I was surprised to see this agenda item written this way, because I was expecting it to be that we were going to identify that full-time position that has not been filled for quite a while as the courthouse security, rather than add another position to our staff.
Well, we talked about that, but I think this is for a new position that's separate of that, because
Sheriff,
You
you
know,
want to,
it appears to me that the sheriff's office may not have that position filled, but if there wasn't a necessary position, that wouldn't be in there now anyway.
Is the idea to keep the other one too, Sheriff Mills, or plus this one, or to get rid of the other one and replace it with this one?
The court's intent from the discussion the other day was to utilize that vacancy for funding. Position still needs to be created so that we can define the scope of that job, the primary scope, while they would still be a deputy sheriff. they
So would you do away with the other?
Yeah, can we eliminate the old
We would
one?
use that for the funding. Well, whatever think you need to do. I mean,
Right, so if you take the
Position-
funding away from the old one, doesn't the old position also need to go away? Is that how that, or am I just missing a technical point?
You know, with the calls and the amount of activity y'all have, I just can't see, doing away with an approved position already. This is not an approved position. It's a previous, a proposed approved position, but it's separate and apart from sheriff patrol. I mean,
the position we're discussing that exists today was from an employee. You got to go back 7 or 8 years ago, had a vehicle accident, stayed out for an extended period of time, did pain management for quite a while, and ultimately left. But in the meantime, a position was created so that we could fill that and not get beat to death with overtime and staffing issues.
yeah,
When he left, that position still just hung out there on the boards
so
and has never been utilized. But then the discussion last week in budget was that would be the fund process for a position that would transition really from primary to patrol to a primary courthouse to maintain the position that we've had up front during the pandemic for the desk that everybody wants to see stay in existence.
But do you think you need to keep the old position? Do you expect to fill it someday and need to keep alive, the possibility of using more budget funds to fill that old position, or is the old position really a dead letter?
Not currently it would create a really kind of an imbalance. Why, if you're going to do that, I'd probably look for two to increase both sergeants' positions where they'd have balanced groups rather than shifting people around. We have not utilized or filled that position for 5 or 6 years, 7 years. Don't see that need right now on patrol. While it would simplify a lot of scheduling, it's not anything we built into a budget on that.
Well, I would amend my motion to make this position replace the unfunded or the unoccupied position that's already in the budget.
Like I say, while they'll both be patrol officers for the sheriff's office, we did want to, I do believe Linda Dawn needs a job description specifying primary duties of this individual, but that they would be subject to use on the street. We discussed that in the budget. In the event, holidays, any courthouse closings for weather events or anything else, that person doesn't go home with the rest of y'all. That person would be utilized on the street or somewhere else, but would continue to work as a deputy sheriff.
but the primary job would be courthouse security.
For the hallways and offices of the courthouse, not the courtrooms. We've got
Right.
part-time bailiffs that will see to that, but it was a pleasure, I think, of most of the court and people in the courthouse that as we wound down the pandemic, that we would keep the person up front, that we put a bailiff up there for all the year plus.
I've heard good comments.
Doing
on that.
temperatures and face mask issues and directing people or holding people there until an employee came and met them at the front door. But as we've wound down, the discussion centered on, did we want to continue that? And if so, we needed to fund it somewhere and really set it up officially.
Right. I think everybody's on board with the idea that we use the funding that was otherwise allocated to this old position for the new position, which we support. I guess what we need to understand is, do you have any objection to our stating it such that we are terminating the old position and
Not here.
going
No.
forward with the new position?
No.
Okay.
And I'll second Commissioner Casterline's amended.
Could I ask for clarification? Because the agenda item says 1 full-time or 3 part-time.
One
We are
full-
going for the 1 full-time position.
One full-time.
Is that
And
what you want?
probably
the-
a
That was
revised
requested
job
last week in
description.
budget. It would
So I'll-
simplify the scheduling because otherwise we've got to look for 2 or 3 part-time and maintain 8 hours of coverage or 8.5.
Right, we're not disagreeing. We're just,
By having that position authorized, you can use anybody in the sheriff's office to do it.
Good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it doesn't
Because they
necessarily
will,
have to be a named
they'll take
employee.
vacation and everything like everybody else. So we will shift people around and cover it. This just eliminates, and she wasn't present during discussion at budget, but it'll eliminate the scheduling issue for that place up there and not to exceed the 30 hours of part-time positions.
okay, so what we're approving is 1 new full-time position. We are not also approving 3 part-time
Okay.
positions.
So I'll amend my my motion a second time to eliminate the 3 part-time positions from the motion.
All right.
Okay, so the current.
Can I have a re-second?
Amended
Yeah,
motion
I'll second
is
that.
for the 1 additional full-time, which is a new courthouse security position, which will be funded from a.
By the elimination of,
Utilized patrol position, which will be eliminated.
Right.
And I've got Commissioner Casterline. Does that amendment suit you?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Commissioner Cheney.
Yes.
Will you second that?
Yes.
Okay, so I got both the second and the amendment.
All right. Any further discussion? Nope. Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castellan,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawler,
aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. Jumping the gun there. All right, unanimous. Item 16.
I move to approve a new job description for project coordinator of pathways at a pay group 12, which will replace administrative assistant long-term recovery position. No new bunnies.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded.
I have a
Could we
question
get
or
an
a
update on
comment, I guess.
exactly what's going on I mean, how many people you have now and
Oh, it's, okay, go ahead. Which one you want? Which one?
Go, you start and I'll chip in with my question.
It's Jennifer Hurd, same person. Well, she's just going to, because of my workload now, she's going to shift over and take over my pathway responsibilities.
okay, so.
I'll still be there, but she's going to handle that everyday stuff.
Okay, so you're giving control of, not really control, but you're giving the management of pathways up to Jennifer.
Yes,
And she in turn is giving up
eventually, yes.
the long-term recovery coordinator's position.
Right.
Okay. You
We're far enough along down the road. And right now the question is, it's myself, Kim, and Jennifer is the team. So we're going into a new phase. We're going to the implementation phase.
How involved in the day-to-day business is Ms. Fouts?
She's got her projects. I have mine. So she works on her own projects.
Okay.
The comment or question I have is from comments I got from the community. Essentially, people are trying to follow along. It looks like the large scale view is long-term recovery is sort of winding down as it gets through some of the heavier workload that was involved earlier on when you were creating so many new grant applications. And William Whitson
It's
has
just-
left us, that opened up some salary, and then Jennifer needs to move over from long-term and over to pathways. At the same time, we're not actually decreasing the entire county budget. We're just relocating people to other projects. And the question I often get is, how is it that with long-term recovery winding down, we can't actually save some money? Do we really have new projects opening up that exactly make up for the people who are leaving long-term?
The projects are not going away anytime. We're probably a number of years before all of these projects have been completed.
But the staffing's shrinking.
Staffing is probably where it's going to be for now. That's going to be it.
I guess I'm talking about over the last few months with the departure of Mr. Whitson and with Jennifer moving from long-term to pathways. The pattern we're seeing is long-term staff is shrinking, but all of that staff is not leaving the county. It's just going to other county functions.
Well,
So we're
yeah, except for Mr.
expanding
Whitson.
other county functions at the same time we're shrinking long-term.
Right.
I think that is what it is, but that's the question I'm always getting is why aren't we just shrinking long-term and saving some money? How come we always have to redeploy them to some other new county project?
Well, my workload is increased considerably since Mr. Whitson's left. So you take somebody who's been sitting next to me, helping me with those things while I was working on long-term recovery projects, and it makes perfect sense to move that person into that role. She understands what has the ins and outs of the pathway
So
operation.
the personnel changes make complete sense. I don't think anybody has a question about them. The question really is, why can we not figure out a way while long-term recovery is shrinking to shrink the entire county budget instead of just moving them into other county projects?
Well, you have,
But
you
you
have
have
in
needs.
effect done that by, we're still actively seeking grants of all kinds
Sure.
and everything. But the
And we have
actual-
grant programs that are in process.
The
and
actual
we-
work portion of it is ongoing and will be for a while. It's just the seeking.
Many
of
years.
grants that has not gone away, but has curtailed.
Well, I will hazard an explanation. You tell me if it makes sense. One is we moved some of the cost from what used to be Mr. Whitson's salary over to the auditor's department. And that sort of reflects the fact that what used to be a long-term burden has sort of become an auditor's office burden because they're now the ones saddled with, making the paperwork. So I can see a good argument for what used to be a long-term expense didn't actually go away from the county. It just moved from long-term over to the auditor's department. You might be able to make a similar argument for pathways, just that it has needed more help for a while and we don't need this person in long term anymore. And Pathways just needs to expand its budget right now because it's more busy.
Pathways is where we don't have projects to speak of. We have maintenance of projects. The bond funds, we're down to $100,000 that Jackie says we've got to spend or it's going to go away. So we're down to 100,000, but the projects have to be maintained. And that's where the emphasis goes on is you have to have somebody who's out there walking the projects and organizing the maintenance program of that. And then we're, a little bit here, a little bit there, we might improve something or get something new.
That's a full-time
Cool.
job.
And so one way to look
it
at it is you've needed to spend more time with long term because Mr. Whitson left, and therefore you need Jennifer to spend more time on Pathways because otherwise you would have had more time to spend on
Exactly.
Pathways.
And the position from now forward will be paid for from venue, Jack.
Right.
So it
It's no
actually
general
is
fund.
coming away from the funding
And-
source that.
It is taking a burden
Recovery.
off ad valorem taxes.
And remember, most of the long-term recovery folks have been paid with administrative funds that are part of the grant program.
Or at least we expect them to be in the future, and we have
Sure.
pretty good confidence that it will happen.
And-
Yes,
and
ma'am.
back
None of
to-
that is paid, I'm sorry, none of that has been paid through property taxes. It is all through administrative fees.
John, I have a question. The administrative assistant, long-term recovery position, what pay group was that?
I believe she was in pay group 12 as well.
Okay, so it's
Just,
across
it's an even, yeah.
all right, thank you.
And something else I think we need to remember is after Harvey is we had groups from other cities that had major hurricanes.
Right.
And I believe that the number of years that they told us that it took them to finish was in the neighborhood of 12 years.
Yeah.
10 to 12.
Before
Yes,
they
sir.
finished grant projects and things that started after the storm and finalized to getting the last ones at Waveland, Mississippi, I think were the group that came, and it was 12 years later and they were still actually had stuff going on from
Yeah.
recovery.
We
Well,
clearly
it's,
we hit the ground running a lot faster than any of the neighboring counties that I'm aware of.
But the process, let me just say, the process, no matter how hard you hit it, it's still going to operate. It's at the grind that it's going to operate at.
Yeah.
And we're learning those lessons and we're moving along and it's little steps every day.
It's never going to go fast.
No,
It really was-
We hope we never have to use our lessons learned in the future.
it's
It was
correct.
not my intention to say you were taking too long or spending too much. It was to try to clarify whether the changes were just moving around within county departments or actually saving money long run. And if only moving around among county departments, I just need to answer questions to taxpayers who ask how that is.
If we have needs in the county and we have somebody who's very capable, why would we not use those folks?
Long-term recovery is being paid out of administrative fees anyway.
Correct.
not
Yes,
tax
sir.
money, right?
Yes, sir.
ultimately. We hope and we believe.
Yeah. It's good. All right,
Okay.
roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castro,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lockout,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Make a motion to approve the budget line item transfers.
Second.
Second, Commissioner
Are,
Castleline.
are there any?
We have none at this time.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castro.
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lockout,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item 18.
I move to approve the accounts payable and payroll liabilities.
Second.
Motion made and second, Commissioner Castleline.
Oh.
Any discussion?
Are there any unusual ones?
Most of them are normal. We do have a few large payments for some of our projects. The Cedar Bio project, we're receiving invoices on that. So there's a couple in there for that, but we will receive reimbursement from FEMA on those.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lockout,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Now's the time for any elected official or department head to speak up and tell us what's going on and I know we got fee reports. This. Give the department heads and elected officials a chance first.
Here. Well, on Saturday, I had the privilege of being a judge for the lemonade stand. And actually, it was kind of a chore to do 30-something samples of lemonade.
Yeah.
But the kids and the parents involved, it was really good experience. They were all having a great time and learning a lot.
I'll add to that, my wife and I went around to, I think we ran out of pucker power after about 16, but it was quite an adventure and the kids were having fun and the lemonade, most parts were good. Not all of them, but most of them. But it was a good deal.
In my, over in Peninsula Oaks, we have a police officer who lives 3 doors down or 3 houses down from us. And I thought they were having a raid or something there because all these police cars were going down there and the girls were down there selling lemonade. I just tell a real quick story. My grandson and granddaughter, 10 and 9, decided that they wanted some lemonade. So I gave them a $5 bill to go get 2 50-cent deals of lemonade. They tipped $4.
All right, and that fee report.
Yes, you do have the April and May fee reports. I do need to make a correction on the May report down at the bottom on the SO warrants, the JP 1 and 2. The correct numbers are for the current month or for JP 1 is $2,375 and JP 2 is $950.25. Everything else is correct.
All right. Anything else? Nothing else, right?
Judge,
Yes.
I had this is Kim Faust.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kim. Come on in.
I had one item that I wanted to report to the commissioners and community. As you all may recall, we put in some separate applications for community development block grant funds, and those were for the mitigation program. Those applications were for fiber optic, Ruby Allen, Newcomb Point, and Fulton Beach Road North. We did receive notification both, from the General Land Office that none of those projects were funded. So typically what we would do, there were 2 phases of the funding. There was a round 1 and there was a round 2 that they were supposed to conduct. What they have decided to do is not have a round 2 process. And instead, what they're going to do is they're going to provide funding through the Coastal Bend Council of Governments, much like how we receive funding for our original community development block grants. So what's going to happen is this is actually very much in our favor. There will not be a competition. What they'll do is the GLO General Land Office will repost their process in the Federal Register. Then they will send a funding allocations to the individual council of governments. And then they'll use the process that they used last time for community development block funds, which is, they call it the method of distribution, or MOD process. And so what that means is, instead of having to go into a very large pool to compete for funding, we will receive our own allocation. And instead of putting out applications, it's still considered an application, but you're basically not competing. You're qualifying the projects based on how much allocation that you're going to receive. We don't know what that allocation amount is going to be yet. There's some behind the scenes type work that the General Land Office has to do in order to change and update that process. And then the Council of Governments has to post their process and go through a citizen effort to solidify the approach that they'll be taking. So we're looking at a couple of months for the state to do their work, then probably another month or two for our local council of government to do their work. And then we'll know what our allocation is going to be. And if you'll recall, I mean, what we had, there were already some funds set aside for projects. We were waiting on that allocation, that method of distribution allocation. The original allocation was 75 million for our region. And it's my understanding, and we'll still need to wait for verification, but it looks like an additional 75 million will be allocated for our region. So there'll be a total pot, it looks like tentatively, of 150 million, and we'll receive an allocation from that. And so far, the projects that had been discussed for that were the airport projects and then fiber optic. Happy to answer.
Kim, does that mean that the beach road projects are probably out of that pool now, and we're basically looking at airport and fiber optic as the main or even exclusive uses?
Yes. And, you know, we'll have to adjust depending on what what level of allocation that we get. We'll have to look at it. But the airport project was several million, I believe around 4 million. And then fiber optic, of course, is quite large. But the key, and I want everybody to be aware of this, we've been working really hard behind the scenes. Our entire region is very, very interested in fiber optic. And the feasibility study, we got a feasibility study funded for fiber optic for us through the General Land Office. That project is coming to a close. We have all of the recommendations, and it is very regional. We're part of what came out to be a very regional effort. And so we're working very closely with the COG to coordinate those efforts with all the other cities and counties in the region. And collectively, it's an opportunity for us all to leverage the funds that we're all going to be getting through this method of distribution to accomplish the project. The COG is very interested in this because it meets a significant need that the entire region has.
So this is maybe the fiber optic loop is back on possibility of funding.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Kim? If not, do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, I
Aye.
think we can do that one. All right, unanimous. Thank you.